Hey dumplings, it's Dave Decide. Today I want to talk about Jung Kook getting emotional on camera and what happened there. I also wanted to get into a radio host allegedly banning Jung Kook and Left and Right from air. And then RM addressed racism in a new video. So hater or not, make sure you're subscribed with the notification bell on. Grab your dumpling, tea-spilling mug merch, and let's get into it. BTS is always so great at giving us behind the scenes and literally every single moment of their career. I think they believe they owe all the success to ARMY, and this is true. So they definitely want to bring ARMY along these adventures. We also very much want to see. Some of BTS's biggest hits are their reality shows and behind the scene moments, which I do react to some on my Patreon, so if you would like to join me over there, please check it out. I will link it down in the description. Recently, we got a new BTS episode where we got to see BTS behind the scenes at the White House. Little old naive me, I guess I just thought they showed up and spoke, but they obviously were going to be speaking from some notes during the press portion. I would imagine they would speak off the cuff and more personal when they had their private moment with Biden. And given how eloquently RM speaks and is so good at these things, I guess I didn't think they needed to rehearse or that there would be any behind the scenes stuff to even show. But you could see the boys super nervous in this video, and even more nervous, I would imagine, since they don't all speak English super well. They might wonder how to interact with the staff at the White House and how to speak to Biden. Jungkook made a joke that no matter what the question or interaction will be, his answer to all the questions will be music is always a medium that unifies, which is part of his speech. They all rehearsed how they were going to go up to the podium and speak and who's going first, etc. And obviously this needs to be rehearsed. And they seemed to have organized all that themselves. You might think that that's not a big deal, but it is. Typically, these things are organized by the label as more of a marketing strategy. When groups stand at award shows or sit at award shows, the order in which they sit is determined for them. This is because they may prefer to have specific groups or members sit next to each other according to age, or maybe even on an attractive scale. Visual would go in the middle, etc. But for BTS and making their own decisions, who goes first and next, it's a big deal. It shows their independence as a group. In the BTS episode, RM touched upon a more controversial topic that many people may disagree with. There has always been a lot of hate towards Asians and many minorities in the country. I would argue and say that if there wasn't this hate that existed already, like a tiny micro hate towards Asians looming in our country, then a situation like COVID would have nothing to magnify. They can only magnify what's there. Are white people being killed every day? Sure, but not because of the white people doing school shootings. You see the difference? A white person can shoot up a school, but other people aren't then going out and killing other white people because of that one white person's actions. Whereas if an Asian person does something, or if a virus that is believed to be from Asia occurs, then suddenly there's all this Asian people dying and being killed. Asians are in a weird position in America because while they are the minorities, they also happen to be some of the more successful people in America. So then it becomes hard for other minorities to push the narrative that people of color are treated badly, because then conservatives point to Asians. So then a lot of people say Asians are not people of color. However, we don't exactly get white privilege either. So you can see from both liberal and conservative perspectives, they both hate Asians. We don't fit in a specific category. RM didn't talk about all of that in this behind the scenes video, but he did talk about the hate that was going on and that he was going to do his best to explain the situation of hate to Biden. I have no doubt this was something he spoke about, as he knows this firsthand. There's really nothing Biden could do about it. This is just going to be something that's going to take decades and centuries of undoing for us to get to a point where we can see every race as equal. But I want to give a more full perspective on it and see where the frustration comes from. Big Hit has also been releasing some older clips and moments. They released some footage getting sentimental over the Love Yourself era. This era really put them on the map and really solidified their message to the world. When they are gone from this world, the impact from this album and albums like this will be what is left behind. They also did several series with the Love Yourself theme, and this was their final era. This also happened right before COVID, so it was one of the last times they saw ARMY in a more normal world. All the members talked about how precious these moments were to them. Members talked about how they remembered every moment and every stage, and just got super emotional when talking about how touching he remembers the album and tour to be. In one of their stages, all the members broke down and cried. We even had a cute moment where Jimin went to hug Jungkook after getting super emotional. No surprise that they were emotional. It was the end of an era. And tears of joy, of course. I love to see see it, but as an outsider watching, it may be difficult to understand why someone is getting so emotional over an album or concept ending. Because you're like, well, just do it again if you really like this concept and don't want to say bye. But they can, but that's not why they're emotional. When you're on tour, it's days and nights with little sleep. You go through these micro moments of silence, which you cherish because there's very little of it, to these extremely loud and beautiful moments where you see ARMY and feel the energy. And then just being emotional that maybe you're not seeing your family or dealing with personal issues on the road, and you're traveling, so you naturally are growing and learning new things. You become a different person coming out of this era, and I'm sure ARMYs have experienced a level of growth even within themselves following the album from beginning to end. So that is why people are emotional. ARMYs have seen BTS through it all, and we get it. It becomes difficult for people on the outside to see why some people are so passionate about the boys, and this can lead to a lot of problems and misunderstandings, given that most people that work in the industry are a very specific type of person to begin with. They usually crave attention and are slightly narcissistic, let's be real here. To sit on camera, spend a long time talking about yourself or your thoughts, a little narcissistic. So they tend to dislike or maybe even become jealous of the type of fandom BTS has built. So what happened this time and who insulted BTS? There was a radio station getting a lot of heat. This host was named Brian from iHeartRadio, and I guess they have a submission email thing that you can send your song requests to. They talked about how troublesome it was to go through and clear the requests because it's all left and right by Charlie Puth and Jung Kook, and then called the BTS fandom nerds, and said that he will never actually play the song because of the mass requests. His co-hosts even told him to be careful, and Brian said that he didn't care about the fallout. But after the severe fallout and severe death threats he was getting, it was clear that he wasn't expecting that. They continued to talk about how they didn't want to associate anything with BTS because they know of the hate they get from the fandom. In anything regarding BTS, like any mention, even if it's slightly off, will get death threats to the station, which is true. However, the station, I believe, has played Left and Right before, so they're not against playing it. But I'll talk more about that later. ARMYs were very upset at how this was dealt with, because if a lot of people are sending in requests, why is that pissing the host off? Isn't that what it's for? And that's how you gauge what to play on the radio. Radio is already kind of a dying medium, and the reason being is because people want to listen to what they want to listen, when they want to listen to it. It becomes quite obvious with the growth of TikTok and YouTube that people want their content immediately. They don't want commercial breaks, they don't want to listen to songs that they don't like, and requests are the best way to know how to improve and give people what they want. Some leaked DMs came out where Brian talked about how he didn't mean anything offensive by saying BTS nerds. It was just a term that he used to refer to anyone, so Star Wars nerds, etc. And he said he initially didn't understand what ARMYs were so upset about. Given the history of BTS and how they were constantly used in the media, ARMYs are more sensitive about everything. If you look at songs like Dynamite that were entirely English versus songs like Life Goes On released after Dynamite, you'll see that Life Goes On didn't get pushed, and it was largely believed because it was Korean. BTS during Stop Asian Hate released a statement saying that BTS gets hated on for just how they look. And so to simply not play BTS songs because you didn't actually have a reason, people are going to fill in that reason for you. BTS is not just an artist, they have become a representation of a race. If you insult BTS, you are saying F you to Asian culture. And that is how everyone takes it. And if you take what I've mentioned previously about Asian culture, you'll see the culture itself is really touchy, let alone someone who would represent it. Brian ultimately said that he finally understood and ultimately retracted this statement and words and said that he likes the song but actually has no power to determine what to play. And Brian talked about how he will make more of an effort to try and get it played going forward. Please don't send more hate and attack him and the station. He seems to have gotten the message, and sending death threats never gets your point across. I have a mixed bag feeling about this to begin with, because when you're getting canceled, it's really not a good idea to sit there and read death threats and people calling you ugly or how much they hate you, and 99% of what is said is not actually helpful in helping you improve. It's people with anger issues that are like, this is my chance to be angry. But explaining why people are upset and giving a real reason that actually makes sense and explain it like even how I have is a different approach that is underrated. People were also saying that since BTS has mentioned Stop Asian Hate, they were directly addressing people who have shown no reason to hate BTS or not play their songs, similar to what the host was doing. But this is a more different situation station as the host seems more frustrated with the fandom than they were at the members themselves. I've said this many times before, that if ARMY doesn't stop attacking anyone that is remotely associated with BTS or mentions BTS, people will stop. Like, no one will play their music anymore or anything like that. The sudden spike in ratings isn't worth the drama for some stations. They would prefer to make less money if that meant getting less death threats. But what do you think? How do you feel about what the station had said? How do you feel about Jungkook and BTS getting emotional over their era? And how do you feel about RM's message over Stop Asian Hate? Let me know what you think. Make sure you check out my Patreon for more videos, link down below. Thanks for this lovely comment right here. Love you. Bye.